What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another rugby video on the Rugby channel, and today we're going to be talking about expanding the Rugby World Cup. It is an interesting debate. A lot of you guys are really wanting the whole movement to happen. So today we're going to look at what it could possibly be. Welcome back to another video on the Rugby channel. Please make sure you go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, click the notification button, as well as please go ahead and follow us on our social media platforms to be up to date with the channel. Okay, so as we all know, the Rugby World Cup currently has 4 groups, Pool A, B, C and D, and obviously this is the current tournament which this is from. So let's pretend we go ahead and expand it, so there'll be like a Pool E and an F. Obviously, we could narrow down the teams, so it'd be 4 teams per group, but with this scenario we're going to do 5 teams per group. So Pool E and Pool F, an extra 5, making the whole thing to 30 teams. Then, obviously, this can't happen in this current tournament because it's just happening now. So this would be the sort of movement that would have to happen in, which would be the next World Cup in France 2023. So the pools would look like this. Pool A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Okay, so next up then, we'd put the top 6 teams of the Rugby World Cup rankings into the groups. So as you can see, New Zealand has been put into Pool A. Pool B would be Wales, Pool E would be England, Pool D Ireland, Pool E would be South Africa, and Pool F would be Australia. So that way then the teams don't play each other and you're having some good quality teams in each group, which would be very similar to the last tournament. So then Pool G and H will then be most likely the teams that wouldn't necessarily be in a World Cup in the first place, or the teams that would not really be likely to get out of the knockout groups. So if we go ahead and fill in these pools now. Okay, so as you can see, this is what the pools would then look like. So as you can see, Pool A would be New Zealand and Scotland, Samoa, Portugal and Chile. Pool B would be Wales, France, USA, Spain, Brazil. Pool C, England, Japan, Tonga, Netherlands, Belgium. Pool D, Ireland, Argentina, Canada, Korea and Germany. Pool E, South Africa, Fiji, Romania, Hong Kong and Kenya. Pool F, Australia, Italy, Switzerland, Russia, Namibia. Pool G, Georgia, Colombia, Lithuania, Czechia, Uganda. And Pool H, Uruguay, Zimbabwe, Poland, Ukraine and Mexico. So by doing it this way, I feel that it adds the lower nations that play rugby as well. It makes them being able to actually qualify to get into the Rugby World Cup, therefore growing rugby in those countries. So as you can see then, the top 2 teams would go through, so that's why the black line is there. And yeah, so it's done basically on random, besides the top 6 teams which you just saw. The rest of the grouping is done randomly, so they just get drawn into the groups. Like I said, it's designed for the top 6, then that way they don't have to play each other and you're still promoting rugby in that group. For example, like, I don't know, Chile would be amazed to play the All Blacks, and Brazil would be amazed to play Wales, and so on throughout the whole group. And then Pool G and H then is designed then for the lower tier nations, so Georgia and Uruguay, which usually make a World Cup, they have done for quite a while now. They actually would have a chance of getting out of the group, and therefore also promoting rugby in those countries. Okay, I know some of you guys will probably be saying it's a bit unfair though on Russia and Romania and stuff like that. And yes, you are true with that one. But like I said, it's just randomly drawn, so the chances like some of those teams could end up in Pool G and H as well, and vice versa, because like it works out. You could easily have, like, I don't know, Fiji in one, Tonga in the other. Like it could be randomized so much. But like I said, as of doing it randomized right now, Georgia and Uruguay are the main nations in Pool G and H. Now, I know also a lot of you are probably thinking the fact that this is a hell of a lot of teams and a hell of a lot of games to cover, and yes, you are right. But they do it in the football World Cup. There's been, like, I think it goes, is it to Group I in Football World Cup? I think it is. I don't know. I don't follow it that much, as you know, it's a rugby channel, so we don't do stuff like that. But yeah, they can do it. Surely the World Cup could do it as well. Obviously, main games are going to be covered with as many cameras as possible. But other games don't necessarily have to be covered with as many cameras as possible. Obviously, still cover the games, but they don't necessarily have to have all the wide angle cameras and everything like that, because they do it in other things as well. Okay, so let's pretend then that these pools literally just end up finishing like this. Nothing changes. So the teams going through would be New Zealand, Scotland, Wales, France, England, Japan, Ireland, Argentina, South Africa, Fiji, Australia, Italy, Georgia, Colombia, Uruguay, and Zimbabwe. So what happens after the group stage? Well, this is what happens. Okay, so as you can see, they then get drawn into the last 16 knockout round. So these will be fixed matches, as in, like, you know who's going to be playing who. So, for example, you'll have the first game would be Pool A winners versus Pool B runners-up, Pool B winners versus Pool A runners-up, Pool C winners versus Pool D runners-up, and so on in that pattern for the other games. So that way then it works out as these teams here playing. Okay, so as you can see then it works out New Zealand would play France, Wales would play Scotland, England would play Argentina, Ireland would play Japan, South Africa would play Italy, Australia would play Fiji, Georgia would play Zimbabwe, and Uruguay would play Colombia. So it works out quite well this way, because that way you have evenly matched teams playing against each other, and it would be really, really good rugby to watch. Like the Australia vs Fiji game we saw in this year's World Cup, and it looked really, really good, didn't it? I know Fiji lost in the end, but it was a really good game to watch. South Africa versus Italy, obviously Italy didn't play well, and the red card played a massive effect in that match, but in a rematch, it could be quite good. Ireland versus Japan, we saw how that went. England versus Argentina could be a good game if, again, no red cards were given. Wales v Scotland, we see that in the Six Nations all the time. New Zealand versus France. France are a very good team in World Cups. Uruguay versus Colombia, it would be a South American derby. Like, it would work out really, really well. Same as Georgia versus Zimbabwe. We never get to see Zimbabwe play in Rugby World Cups, so it would be pretty awesome to be able to see that. So, like, these matches would also, like, awesomely line up against each other. So let's pretend then the outcome of this, let's just do the obvious. Okay, so let's pretend there's literally no upsets at all in this campaign. So that way then New Zealand would go through, Wales would go through, England would go through, Ireland would go through. I know Japan beat Ireland, but let's just pretend favourites right now. Ireland would go through. South Africa, Australia, Georgia, and Uruguay. Okay, so these are the teams that won their games. So then going into the next round, it would then look like this. So you'd have New Zealand versus Georgia, Wales versus Ireland, Uruguay versus Australia, England versus South Africa. Now, I know a lot of you figure, like, this doesn't necessarily add quality to the Rugby World Cup, because obviously Uruguay and Georgia are still Tier 2 nations, and yes, you are right, but it also means the fact that these nations get a massive chance in order to get into the quarterfinals, therefore promoting rugby around these countries and making the popularity of rugby as a sport in general more popular, because it's making it a more worldwide and global contest then, rather than just having the same nations all the time. Okay, yes, the All Blacks would beat Georgia. Probably Georgia wouldn't have a chance, but it's still the fact that they got that far. It's the same as Uruguay playing Australia. Okay, Australia are probably going to win it, most likely, 90% of the time, but it's still a chance for Uruguay to play in a quarterfinal of a Rugby World Cup. It gives the pool stages much more meaning. It makes the teams want to play more with more passion. Obviously, they have a lot of passion anyway, these teams, but you get what I mean. Like, if you're not playing, if you feel like you're not competing for anything because you have 3 amazing nations in the World Cup, then you're not going to get out. So that kind of like with the World Cup just gone, or the World Cup of this year, sorry. You had Australia, Fiji, and Wales all in the same group, as well as Georgia and Uruguay. Now, these are decent teams. Uruguay put a few points against Australia. They beat Fiji. Georgia being one of the best Tier 2 nations. Fiji being another really good nation, like, and Fiji putting up a massive fight against Australia and Wales. Like, I just think it's unfair, like, to not have, like, for only about 2 of those teams to go out of that group. I just don't think it's fair. So by doing it this way, these teams have more of a chance of getting out of their group, and I just feel like it works better, helps promote the game more, and it gives it more competition throughout the World Cup, because otherwise it just seems to be the same sort of pattern going over and over. And there's a lot of good nations that are trying to get into rugby that may never reach the Rugby World Cup, like Brazil, Germany, and so on. And again, I feel like this would be a good way of doing it. Okay, maybe not add 2 groups, maybe just have another 4 teams or something to the current competition. But either way, I do feel that there should be more teams added to the Rugby World Cup, just to get more teams in it and more teams competing. But yeah, guys, what do you think? Do you think that the Rugby World Cup should be expanded to this amount? Looking at this picture right now, do you feel like, oh my god, this would be an amazing tournament I'd love to see? Or do you feel maybe just have one group, or maybe have the same amount of groups in this picture and just narrow it down to 4 teams, so you're still getting more teams in it, but not the same amount? Let me know in the comment section what you think of this. Would you want to see it expanded? Would you want to see it kept the same? Would you want to see, again, just one group or something added? Let me know in the comment section. It's been a very interesting debate today. I really enjoyed making the artwork for all this, because I tried to make it look as realistic as possible. Because as you know, I enjoy doing like all the photo editing and stuff, and it was quite fun. It was an interesting thought as well. I know a lot of you guys do agree that there should be more teams added, but like I said, let me know in the comment section what you would like to see happen to the Rugby World Cup. And yeah, guys, without further ado, that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Please make sure you go ahead and smash the like button to show your support for this video. Whether you agreed with the World Cup expanding or not, please go ahead and like the video, just because there's a lot of work that went into this. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe. We upload rugby videos every single week, guaranteed, covering loads of stuff like this. Rugby World Cup match reviews, Six Nations reviews, tournament reviews, predictions, rugby gaming stuff, rugby history. We cover basically everything. So if you're a rugby fan or a sports fan, or are a fan and just want to get into rugby as a sport, please go ahead and subscribe. Like I said, we cover everything to do with it. As well, if you haven't already, please click the notification button as well, because we upload rugby videos every single week, guaranteed. Sometimes it's 10 videos, sometimes it's a video every day, sometimes it's 4. It all really varies. So if you have the notification button clicked, you won't miss out on any videos. And follow my social media as well to stay up to date with rugby news, which I don't necessarily put into videos. And lastly, like I said, please let me know in the comment section what you think of the Rugby World Cup. Should it be expanded? Should it not? Let me know. And like, comment, subscribe. I've been Andrew. I will see you in another upload. Peace out, guys.